Hi, welcome to the second part of the car animations tutorial. Last week we learned how to create this animation, but today we will be learning how to create animation where the car is staying in place but the surroundings are moving. And if you haven't seen the last week's video, then I will leave the link in the description. Also, there will be a link where to download the infographics and the ready to use canvas. And let's roll the intro and start Animate. So, this is the infographics from the file you downloaded. Check out the tips here and let's move to the other file, click on it and it will import right into Procreate. Now here is all the layers and a guide for the car moving. And this time there will be 5 car frames. So, duplicate the car group 4 times. If you want, you can do 10 frames, like in the first part of the tutorial, but this time we will do 5 and it will speed things up. First, let's do the wheels. First layer group will stay the same, and the second one, click on the wheel 1, then arrow tool and on the green dot and rotate it by 72 degrees. Do the same with other wheel. So you need to look at the guide layer and rotate the wheels accordingly. Now, when that is done, let's do the car bounce. So first frame stays the same, and the second one, click on the car, then the arrow tool, and I will tap under 6 times. But you can do whatever number you want. The next one, I will tap 11 times. The fourth frame, again, I will tap 6 times under. And the last one, I will tap 3 times up. Now I will flatten all the frames, but you can check first if everything is right with the car moving and flatten all the layers then. And rename the frames from 1 to 5 and delete the guide layer. Now you can turn on Animation Assist and at the bottom change first frame to background and last frame to foreground. Now let's add the shading under the car and draw some car smoke at the end of the car and do that with all the car frames. And I am using a black color and 6B pencil brush. When this part is done, then uncheck the background and foreground at the bottom and turn off Animation Assist. Now uncheck background and car layers and let's work on the foreground. Turn on Drawing Guide to the grid and size 108 pixels. This will make 10 squares in the line. So, if the car is driving to the left, the foreground will move to the right. Now, duplicate the foreground 2 times. Unclick the first layer and you can rename it 1. And that will be the first frame. Now click on the next layer and the arrow tool and check in magnetics, and when moving look at the blue line so it is straight. Now move the layer 2 squares to the right, and the other layer we will move to the left so that those 2 squares are seen. Now you can touch up the drawing so it looks neat and merge layers together and rename it too. Now duplicate this layer 2 times and uncheck the first layer. And again move one layer 2 squares to the right and the other one to the left so those 2 squares are filled. Then merge together and rename 3. Then duplicate 2 times and repeat what we just did. Together there will be 5 frames and that will create our loop. So we are moving these layers by 2 squares because the foreground will move faster than the background, which we will move by 1 square later. And this will give the effect from our point of view that the foreground is moving faster than the background. When we have created all 5 frames, then you can click back in all the foreground layers and check the animation. Now uncheck the foreground layers and let's work on the background. Now I forgot here, but you can turn off the animation assist. So duplicate the layer 2 times and rename the first one to 1. Now click on the first layer and let's move it by 1 square to the right. And the other one we will move to the left so that 1 square is seen. And here I'm turning off the animation assist. Then you can also fix the place where the layers meet and merge them together and rename 2. Now duplicate 2 times and move 1 layer by 1 square to the right and the other one to the left so that 1 square is seen and merge together. And rename 3. And again duplicate 2 times and do the same like before. So we are doing the same thing like we did with the foreground layers, just only difference is that we are now moving by 1 square and that will make the background move slower than the foreground, and we need to create 10 frames. And that will be our background loop. When we have created all 10 frames, then click back in all the background layers and turn off drawing guide and turn in the animation and check if everything is okay. Now here you can see that the background moves smoothly in a loop. Now turn off the animation and let's put it all together. Now click back in all the car layers and duplicate every layer, the car layer, so we will have 10 of them together. Now we need to combine first car layer with the first background layer. You can drag it on the top and then the second one with the second one, and so on, the third with the third, and you need to check that the car is always on the top of the background layer. So the 4 will go together with the 4 frame, and the 5 with 5. Then again, the first one will go with 6, 2 with 7, 3 with 8, 4 with 9, and 5 with 10. Now flatten all the layer groups. Then check in the foreground layers and duplicate each layer. And now we need to do the same as before with the car layers. Combine the first foreground layer together with the first frame that we created before, the second with second, and so on. And now you need to look that the foreground layer is on top. And when everything is combined, then you can flatten all the layer groups. Click on Animation Assist and you can change the speed in the settings to your liking. And that's it! So this is the end of the car animation tutorials, and if you have any questions like any at all, then please leave them in the comments and I will be happy to answer them. And see you next week!